are live here, and I want to introduce our guest here. This is Jordan Bak, the wonderful violist, wonderful person. I want to tell you a little bit story about how I first met Jordan. It was years ago, and I was in Taos, New Mexico, and Jordan and I was watching a concert that my son Russell was playing in, which was exciting, and suddenly someone got up to play the Prokofiev String Quartet number 2, I believe it was. Is that right? And
Actually, it was the first one. It
the
was number
first one,
one.
okay,
Yes.
Prokofiev Quartet number 1. And I said, this boy got up and started talking and saying all this stuff about the piece. And excitingly enough, I said to my son, who is that guy that was talking before the Prokofiev? He talked so well and he played beautifully. And my son said, well, that's Jordan Bak. And I said, well, that guy has a future. And there it is. You do have a future, and the future is now. So that's awesome. And it's exciting because you were playing that with a member of the Ballard Day Quartet, Justin DeFilippis, and my son Russell, who's the cellist in the Ballard Day, was also playing in that quartet. And how exciting can it get? And now here you are on the violazone.com, on my YouTube channel at Ronald Houston, and here you are. So why don't you tell us a little bit? I heard that you were playing with the Ballard Day Quartet just a couple of weeks ago. How was that?
Oh, yes, it was so fun. And speaking of which, I hadn't seen them since Taos, New Mexico. And so it was, how long ago was that? That was about 6 years ago. And it's been so wonderful to see how Justin and Russell, those were the two that I really knew very well from Taos, and how they've gone on to form the Ballard Day Quartet. While I've been kind of doing my own thing with my solo and chamber music career, and teaching now at North Carolina School of the Arts. And we had a wonderful opportunity to play together a really amazing string quintet program of some Mozart. We did the C major string quintet, did the Mendelssohn B flat string quintet, and
Great
the
pieces.
Brahms G major in Atlanta. And it was really just an amazing time of, like, all of us just dear friends getting together and playing at Emory University. It was just such an amazing experience.
So what's it like when you're performing with a quartet that's been playing together for such a long time, and suddenly you are the guest artist?
Well, it's, I never look at it as sort of as string quartet plus me. It's, I sort of feel like, getting a sense of what the language and the voice of the ensemble is. And for me to jump in, I kind of do whatever I can to assess how can I add to this already amazing texture and incredible ensemble playing. And so I sort of feel, whenever I'm able to jump into another group, such as a string quartet, it's really just how we can craft something together as an ensemble, with myself added as an added voice, which is something I'm really fortunate to do pretty often.
Wow. So let's get back to your history here. Was the first instrument that you played the viola?
No, it was not actually. I started on the piano, believe it
So
or not.
what
I
was
started
it?
on the piano.
Oh,
Um,
you play the piano.
yes, piano before I was 3 years old. It was still like, the end of me being 2 years old. And my father had a Casio keyboard, like one of those little Casio keyboards, but it would have a
Of
stand for
course,
it.
yeah.
And so it sat on, in like our back room in our house. And he was fiddling away something. He had a very good ear, but no, proper musical training. But he was able to play, decently with
Mm.
both hands. And he fiddled away on something, not fiddled away, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
and I was, very little. And my 2-year-old self was like, you know what? I can do it better. And I went over there and I played the same thing. And he was just
Wow,
like,
that's
how
amazing.
in the world? And so soon after that, he enrolled me in piano lessons, but I had to wait actually, a few weeks until I was tall enough
Mhm.
to actually get over the keyboard. But I started on piano from about age 3, and I didn't see a viola, I didn't touch a viola until I was 8 years old, and I hated it. I I
Wow.
really didn't like it.
So what happened?
So that whole thing was, this was my first ever elementary school music class growing up in New York. And we had to pick a choice of 3 or 4 different instruments. And so I picked violin first because, in my mind, as an 8-year-old, all the cool kids played the violin and I wanted to be in that circle. Also the cello, for a similar reason. So I think it must have been like a social thing that I was feeling at age 8.
Mm.
And then viola was like a third choice for me, but I heard of the word, before, but I think my understanding of it was, well, this is like a junior level violin. It's like a training wheels violin. And so then if I get the viola, maybe I'll graduate from this and be able to play like, Spring from Four Seasons on an actual violin. It'll be so fun.
Wow.
And by the time they got to me, with my luck, there were no violins left in the school, or so they told me. No violins left in the school, no cellos left in the school. I got this wonderful instrument called the viola, and I just was like miserable for the first 3 years or so. But somebody had to do it. So I was, I'm very like, that was me as an elementary school leader, was like, well, somebody's got to do it. I'm going to do it. Um,
That's
and so
great. And
I just went and I trusted the process. I really didn't enjoy it. But when I was in my teenage years, I got recruited to be part of a youth orchestra called the Children's Orchestra Society, which is run by Dr. Yo Cheng Ma, who is Yo-Yo's sister. And she was really, my first teacher, my first chamber music coach, the first person that unlocked the possibilities for me on that instrument. And to be able to sit in a section with not just a strings class, but a real youth orchestra with, with winds and brass and percussion. And we're doing like Mendelssohn and Mozart Symphony Number 40 and Brahms symphonies and things like that. And being able to
wow.
bring guest artists playing amazing concerti and leading chamber music and solo master classes, that was, a huge thing for me. And so during that time, it was like a complete 180 of, now in my teenage years, I'm like, wow, this instrument isn't just like a secondary violin. It's like it's a real instrument with its own voice. And I actually really love playing it. And that was the moment where, for the rest of my life, I dedicated my time and energy into exploring this instrument.
Wow, that's great. So then you decided to go into music and major in music. And where did you go to
Yes.
school?
So I went to New England Conservatory first. I
Which
went to
is a place where
NEC.
I went there as
Yeah,
well.
NEC. I went there.
That's
I
great.
studied with a very young violist, Dimitri Marath, who was
Of
a
course.
faculty at NEC. He is now the chair of strings and chamber music at SFCM at San Francisco
Right,
Conservatory.
right.
But I studied with him for my undergraduate there.
Mhm.
And it was a really, really amazing experience, really formative training years for me.
That's great. And then did you carry on with your studies after New England?
I did. Yeah, so I did my bachelor's at New England, and then I went to Juilliard after for my master's, where I studied with Xinyun Huang.
So you went to,
And she was just amazing. Speaking of which, she was a person that came to do the Bartok Viola Concerto when I was in that youth orchestra in New
so you
York.
already knew her.
Yeah, and so it was really amazing to come back and, have a trial lesson with Sinyan and being like, "Hey, remember me? I was like 16 when you came to to play the Bartok, and I really love to study with you." And I auditioned,
So
and
did
she
she,
just she it was incredible. Like, she was like, "Oh my gosh, you remember that whole thing?" And it was a really, really great concert, and just to have the opportunity to play for her in chamber music masterclass, and for her to be the soloist with us, it was amazing. And so I auditioned for her. We ended up, I got into her studio. We had a great relationship. And she's been just an amazing, amazing mentor since then. And so I was at Juilliard with Sinyon for my master's, and then afterwards I was there for the artist diploma program, where I studied with Sam Rhodes.
ah,
An amazing, amazing, amazing mentor for me.
that's great. That's great. So, we've been through all of your education now, and let's talk about something that a lot of people talk about, and that's well, should I do a career in solo, chamber music, or orchestral? And it seems like you've kind of done a mix of all of those things, and I'm wondering, what are your thoughts of which of those do you prefer to do, and why, and what's the best thing about your career at the moment? What do you like to do, and all these little things? But let's start off with that solo, chamber music, or orchestra, and see what your thoughts are on that.
Oh, sure. I mean, when, coming out of of school and going beyond just the walls of Juilliard and kind of the bubble of whichever school you're going to, I just, looking back, I kept all of my options very much open. I just approached everything with an open mind. And so I did a bit of everything. I freelanced in New York. I was part of some incredible ensembles such as New York classical players when I was in New York. And it was really amazing to be able to be a core member, to be a co-principal of that ensemble. I've done some chamber music, kind of when I was leaving New York, some, Jupiter Symphony Chamber Players gigs and traveling for other things in, Florida and just around the country in California and things like that. But I also was doing solo competitions. I was a part of the Tertis International Viola Competition. I did
Uh-huh.
Primrose. I did, a whole bunch of different things. And so you keep trying, it's part of your musical development. And it also, it gives you something to prepare for and put all of your heart and energy into. And so one of my biggest accomplishments, I think, looking back in this area of my career, was winning the Concert Artists Guild competition in 2019, and that unlocked so many possibilities for me in terms of building a solo career. I had such amazing management support, and to be able to get all of these different solo engagements, especially as a violist, was
Of course.
unbelievable. And also to play with amazing chamber musicians, both from within the CAG roster at that time, and also from all over the world, really. And so it's been a wild ride since then of kind of, and even with the loss of a year and a half for all of us coming out of it, into and out of COVID, I think even through that, things like the WQXR Artist Propulsion Lab that I was a part of, things like the Violin Channel Vanguard series that I was a part of, those were really amazing opportunities, especially during a dark time, of being able to still go and make music, and to use all of those different avenues as a platform. And so those are some of the most amazing opportunities that I had gotten even through the pandemic, through my solo career, and also live performances on Zoom during chamber music. And then coming out of it, it was just a really amazing opportunity to be able to go and play at places like Chamber Music Detroit and Fort Worth Chamber Music Society, and so many other things, and collaborate with so many different people. And so for me, solo and chamber music at this point in my career is something that I really resonate with, especially because I'm just starting out. It's, of course,
That's
there's so
true.
many accomplishments, right, on paper, but at the end of the day, I'm still under 30, and so I have the rest of my life to live. You know what I mean? So maybe that's something that will shift later on, but currently, I feel like there's such amazing creativity that I'm unlocking in my own career with my own sound and my own voice, and to be able to make music and put just amazing experiences together in a concert hall, such as incredible chamber music performances, I think, is some of the most valuable and inspiring things that I've experienced so far.
That's wonderful. I want to pick up on a couple of things that you just mentioned. One of the things that you said really resonates with me, and that's talking about, what you said was, you really have to keep trying. And I always try to instill that in students, and I try to tell everybody, and I tell myself that too, of course. It's like, you can't stop trying. And when people want to go to a competition, and I think, well, they're never going to win, but it's like, well, if you keep going to these things, you're going to win something eventually. And
Yes.
you have to A, learn how to do it, and B, you have to keep going, because if you keep trying, eventually something happens to you. So that was a wonderful thing that you said, and
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
I'm so glad, because anybody that knows me that's going to resonate with them and say, Houston told me that too. So that's awesome. And the other thing is about COVID, because COVID was an interesting time for musicians. A lot of people, well, I mean, frankly, a lot of people gave up. But those of us
Yeah.
who persevered through it, I think that it was, looking back, if you get a lemon, you make lemonade. You get something that puts things down, and everybody's scared. But then it's like, okay, this is the way it is. We're going to make something. And it sounds like you really, really pulled your way through there, and that you had a positive experience from the COVID time. And that's a very refreshing and wonderful thing to hear.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so many things I think all of us have had to adjust to, and especially those in any sort of creative career. For us, it's very concentrated in classical music and the performing arts, but it applies to so many. And it's to use your creativity, and especially in a means where you're able to still support yourself if you have whatever opportunity to do so, I think is um it's something that you still have to try and push through, especially when that's something that you totally are committed to and believe in. And so I've been very, very lucky. And especially with my own, the things that I've been trying to do during that time, I think has really, really paid off in the long run.
That's awesome. So let's talk about when you're on tour, which I hear that you're on tour very often. You go
Very
travel
often.
traveling all the time, and you know my son, he's in the same boat as you. They're going around the country. They're doing all sorts of things. But my question is for everybody: what is it that you like to do when you're on tour? What things do you look forward to other than the playing? What things do you enjoy doing?
Oh my goodness, eating. Eating is number one. Absolutely. Finding whatever restaurants are like, especially local stuff. Like never, sometimes you're not so lucky. And so, some parts of the country or abroad, wherever you go, there's just kind of like the same stuff and chains, especially within the country. But if you're in a really cool place, discovering the food culture that is in that really cool place is really, really interesting. Also, coffee. You can see on my without coffee, I literally can't even. Coffee is an incredible part of my life. And it's so funny. I was telling my students this, or we have this class called Professional Pathways for Musicians, and so I've also done like a faculty guest interview, and it's surprising. I've told them like how many cups of coffee I drink, and it's like I just drink it sort of like it's water. It's just part of the flavor. I love it. I love all sorts of espresso beverages. Exactly. I mean, how could you not? So discovering different cafes, and especially, hole in the wall cafes, local stuff, just to get a sense of, what's going on in that place, and coffee culture wherever you go is just fascinating, I think.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And what kind of food do you like to eat? What's your choice? If you had one type of food that you could have tonight for dinner, what would that be?
Oh, that's so tough to narrow down. I would say sushi. Sushi is a
Mm,
good one.
I think that I would
Yeah.
be in the same boat with you. We'll have to have
We'll
some
have to go
sushi
for a
together
sushi date
sometime.
sometime.
That sounds great. So, so I think it would be fun right now if we had a little game here.
Oh,
I
sure.
I hear that you've played a lot of viola repertoire. Is that true?
I think so.
Good. So I'm going to give you about a second and a half of a piece, and then you're going to tell me what piece it is.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, I'll do my best.
I'll start off with something a little easier, and then we'll get a little more difficult, and we have 8 pieces to go through.
Okay.
Okay? And then there are a few surprises in the middle.
Wow. Okay, here we go.
Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, here is number one. Hopefully this works because I'm on a different computer, and then we're gonna like shift over and go back and forth. But here's number one.
Oh, this one is lovely. It's the Bruch Romance.
It is,
Yes.
which isn't playing right now. Hold on a second. We're gonna just listen to a little bit. So many people tell me that that's their favorite viola piece. So I had to start with that just to give our listeners something beautiful to listen to. Um,
Yes. That's
all
awesome.
right. So You got the first one right, so that's 1 out of 1. Somebody's got to keep score over here. I'll let you keep
Wow.
score and I'll play these things. And here's number 2. Okay?
Okay.
Ready?
Oh, it's a concerto.
That's right.
It's the second movement of a concerto.
You got that right too. We're getting there. That's close.
Stamets concerto.
Very good.
Good.
Jordan, you're 2 for 2, and that was an
Two
awesome
for
one. I hardly gave you
two.
any of that.
Oh my
There you
gosh, I don't
go.
know how we're gonna do for all 8, but so far.
Okay, so here's number 3.
Oh. Oh, that's quick. Hmm. I'm really not sure.
You're
I
not okay.
don't know.
I'll give you another 2 seconds of this one.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Is it Harold?
Yes, it is.
No?
It's Harold
Oh,
and
it
Italy.
is
I'll give you.
Harold. Okay,
It
good.
is. So there you
There it
go.
is. Yep,
Okay,
it's
so you
Harold.
have two and a half now.
2.5. Okay.
You got 2.5. You got it on the second one, so I'll give you half a point. Okay, the next one should be a breeze, and then after that, we're going to get a little more complex. Okay.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
I'm practicing this right now. The Bartok Concerto. The
Okay.
Bartok Concerto
And
first
so, what is it?
movement.
Okay, you've got 3.5 points. And what are you practicing it for, Jordan?
Well, I have an upcoming concert next month, January 28th, with the Auburn Symphony in Washington.
In in Washington.
Yes.
That's awesome. So, if anybody over there in Washington, you better be sure to go to the Auburn Symphony on January 28th to hear Jordan play the Bartok Concerto because
Yes. It
that
will
will
be
be a
so fun. I
winner.
cannot wait.
Sounds great. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Sure.
It's going to be very short, okay?
Okay. Oh, this was a good sonata. This one's a really good sonata. Hindemith, 11 number 4.
Very good. Okay, so what do you have now? Do you have 4.5 now, right?
I have 4.5. That's
So
pretty
let's,
good.
so let's take a listen to this, okay?
Sure.
Now, you get an extra half point to bring you back to 5 if you can tell us the name of that performer.
Is this me? This is me.
Yes, it is. Okay, there you go. You've got back to your 5 points. You get the bonus.
This is
That
me.
is you playing on the radio for WQXR.
Yes, WQXR. Oh,
I
the
tried.
Green Space.
I was really hoping I was going to slip that one by you, but I could see by the look on your face that you had it. So that's great. Okay, now number 6 is very, very difficult, I think. Okay?
Okay. Oh, I don't know, actually.
Okay, let's listen to a little bit of it.
Oh, I don't know it. Oh no.
I
Oh, I'm
got
so sad.
you. Okay, so that is actually my student playing Yelek 1 from the Kurtag
It's
Signs,
from
Something and
Kurtag.
Messages. Yeah, and what a great piece. But
It's a great piece.
so we're going to listen to 2 more, and then I want to talk a little bit about new music since that brings up the whole new music thing. So
Yes.
here's the next one. So you're down 1, so I think you have 5 and you're -1 there, so
Okay.
you're at 5. And here's the next one, which I know you're going to get.
Ah, I know this one. Is it Wild Purple?
What is it?
Oh, is it Wild Purple, Joan Tower?
Yes, it's Wild Purple, Joan Tower. That's
Yes.
right. That's
Yes.
another one of my students playing that, and I
Yes,
saw there was a video of you playing that on YouTube. Yep,
that's right.
and
And I recorded it too. Yeah.
I love new music for viola players, but we'll get to that one second after we do the last one. So here's the last one. So now you're at 6.
6.
Okay,
Okay.
7 means you're an ultimate master here. So we're getting there.
Oh, I love this sonata. Is
And it
this
is.
is the Hummel E flat?
It is the Humel Sonata. Very good.
Yes. I love that sonata.
So let's talk a little bit about repertoire. For instance, that Hummel Sonata or Hummel Sonata is something that I'm always surprised that not a lot of people play it because it's so
Right.
beautiful and it's challenging and it's kind of an in its own little world because of the challenging aspect of the musicality and the fact that it's a beautiful classical piece for viola and it kind of gets looked over. Have you played it?
I've actually never performed it, but I've taught it before. Actually, I have a student working on the first movement right now.
Oh,
But I've never performed it
it's a
actually, but
great one. It's a
it's a
great one.
really good one, and that's something that I would look forward to programming in a future season, absolutely.
Oh, that would be great. So let's talk
Yeah,
about new music. So we listened to some new music, Joan Tower and Kurtag.
your talk, yes.
What is your what is your feeling about all of the new music that's written for viola these days?
I think we're really kind of in a golden age, I think, with new new pieces by so many amazing composers. My first album actually that came out last year, which is titled Impulse, I kind of used my idea behind that was to highlight as many of my friends and my colleagues that have, you know, dreamt up amazing pieces for this instrument. And so a lot of those, like especially the center of that disc, was all solo pieces, one by Jeffrey Mumford, one by Quinn Mason, one by Anne Leilahua Lanzalotti, also the Joan Tower on there. And so it really gives so much contrast and musicality into what each person is thinking when they're and feeling actually also when they're actively writing something for the instrument, and to push the boundaries beyond where we're at currently and hopefully where we get to in playing for the viola in the future. And we've come a long way by the way, in terms of what has been, what we've been able to do on this instrument and what's been written before, and to taking a listen to something like Wild Purple, for example, which was, written as this wild virtuosic piece for the viola. And Joan Tower herself stated that, she didn't particularly think of the viola as a very wild instrument, but it's totally possible with an instrument that may be acoustically imperfect and, may be a little bit more difficult to play than, kind of this dazzling, sort of easy, very quick response of a violin. But it gives us so many different possibilities of sound and color and, the ability to whisper and to growl and to, exploit those sort of imperfect, vulnerable human qualities of this instrument. And I think that it puts it in a very unique position in the string family. And so many amazing composers are writing and looking for those possibilities, from not just the instrument but also the performer too. So it's really kind of like a full collaboration of pushing boundaries for this instrument and listening for new sounds, creating new sounds, and all sorts of different musical possibilities.
That's great. So let's switch gears a little bit. And well, I get a lot of questions when I put the post up on the Facebook that we were doing the live stream today, and
Oh yeah.
people asking me, a, what kind of viola does he play, or what kind of shoulder rest does he use because of your pictures. So let's talk about that. What kind of viola do you play?
Oh yeah. Well, I have it with me,
All
and
right,
so
let's take a look at it.
yeah. So I hope the lighting is okay. So this is my viola. This is an instrument that's made by American maker John van Couwenhoven. And it's a 16 and a half. It's about 42 centimeters. But
Mhm.
it is a very new instrument. It was made in 2016. And so
Ah,
I bought it in 2016 and I've had it for 7 years. And
wow.
it's really amazing. It's it's very focused. It has great projection. I think, kind of looking back from when I bought it, I think the natural thing that the first note that it ever sang was like one of those things, like a straight arrow to the back of the hall. And I think over time, it's, with me sort of exploring all the different possibilities, it's gotten a lot warmer. It's gotten a lot more. I think the palette really has grown of the different possibilities that you can achieve with the instrument. Um, it's it's a really it's very dense actually, and so you can kind of feel that in the quality of the wood. But it
Mhm.
really is a very resonant instrument. It's a beautiful companion for especially concerti and chamber music performances, and it has such quick response. And I still chat with John regularly. He's an amazing, amazing person, who have come to be great friends with since getting this instrument from him. And I check in, I visit him from time to time, and I think that's such a cool thing to do that you'd never be able to do with Storioni or Testore or people like that. And it's just to tap into an amazing, amazing mind like that, and to treat him as any other human being. Like, he's just a good friend and um, just an amazing person.
I just got a chat message here from Peggy that says, "Love the shoulder rest. I
Oh,
love mine."
yes.
So
So the shoulder rest was, yes, that was something that I had learned from you. This is the FL shoulder rest that I have been using very recently, and I absolutely love it. And so this is how I have it set up on my instrument. So I keep it here. Um, and it's incredibly comfortable. It's so light, especially here in the pad, and it fits so securely around the feet here. Um, you know, like many other people, and especially some of my students that have always been looking for things that, have very secure feet and are not, slipping and sliding or falling off, because that's one of the most frustrating things of
it
constantly having
is.
to adjust your instrument and your shoulder rest during rests, and especially when you're in front on stage giving a recital or something. It's so embarrassing and just kind of like gets you out of your focus, in a sense. But so far it has been just so secure, and it feels so free to be able to play with this particular rest. And it's nice and contoured, but it's not so that it feels totally locked in one place. You can very easily move it up and down when you want to express something in the music, or if I have something with my pianist and I want to do something this way, I can do that, and I can feel very free without being locked in one place. So for me, it's a really, really great companion and just the perfect accessory for this instrument.
That's great. In fact, on violazone.com, which is our site, we have a promotion. So if you want to try this shoulder rest, then there's a discount code for this weekend, and of course the discount code is livestream, LIVESTREAM, and you get an extra 10% off the already discounted shoulder rest. And I happen to be the U.S. distributor of this shoulder rest, and I completely stand by it. I've used it for about 7 or 8 years, and I love it. And the students that I've had use it feel that that's the only shoulder rest they ever want to use. One of my students just bought three of them because they were worried that in the future they may not be able to get them or something. So they just bought a few of them so that they will have one, which there always will be. But that was really cool, and so I'm so happy that you're using it and that you love it so much.
Yes.
So yeah, you can check those out. So if you had young advice for a young musician, speaking of our young students, speaking of younger people and our students using this shoulder rest, if you had some advice for someone that wants to start a career in music, what would that advice be?
Oh, the advice I'd give, and especially looking back, because this was not that long ago for me, is keep your options open and go and listen to everything, absolutely everything, even the things that you wouldn't expect to find enjoyment in, and that might resonate with you at first. And I mean that in a sense of not just um, within the genre of classical music or new music, but also go and listen to jazz, go and listen to a rock concert and some R&B and some hip hop. There's so many different things that we can all learn from different genres and how people approach things and think about music. And you never know where you can end up in any genre, and especially for us strings, we are so versatile and we can adapt to anything. Are all sorts of possibilities within performance and outside of performance that you can still attain with a career in music. It may not necessarily look like the career that you imagine for yourself as a student currently, but if you keep persevering and keep listening and with a full heart and a full mind, you will find something that will work for you.
That's a beautiful answer. I remember when I was, I was 17 years old and I took a advanced placement theory class at the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut, where I grew up near there. And we had a very old, I mean, he probably was 60, but he seemed 90 to me at that age. And we had a very old theory teacher, and he was really cool. And most of the time, instead of doing theory, he would have us play for the class. Different, we were a bunch of musicians from around the area.
Mhm.
And at our last class, he said, one day they are going to have rock and roll musicians on stage with orchestras and classical players.
Yes.
And he kept on saying, and we kept on saying, "Oh, come on." And now look, like you're saying, there are so many different ways that people are doing things. And I even saw an article the other day that said, are rock musicians stopping playing with electric guitar players and the usuals and with orchestra members now? And so there are so many opportunities, and it's been a blessing to me to play all sorts of different music, both in the studio and on stage with different artists. And you know, I think by this time I'm a lot older than you. I've played it all, but the teacher told us, he said, if you think you're going to be an orchestral musician and that's it, you're going to have trouble. He said, if you
Yes.
keep your mind open, he said, every person that wants to be a musician will find his or her place. And I
Mhm.
truly believe that. And I think that his advice pushed me in the right direction. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. And I think that you're basically, from a younger perspective, saying exactly the same things that.
Exactly the same thing.
So that's totally awesome. And then a couple more questions, and then we'll call it a day. My next
Sure.
question is, what can people do to keep classical music alive and well in our culture these days?
Oh, well, I think from I get this perspective from going to listen to concerts. I love, and for all of us, I'd love to see more young people coming. I'd love to see, um, you know, people that we may not expect. I think for all of us that are actively performing and we notice who are in the audience, a lot of that demographic looks a certain way, right? I'd love to see, I think, much more diversity in that with not just age, but also, other ethnic backgrounds, other, you know, places, income based, especially. I think that would be incredible to sort of see. With, concerts everywhere. Of classical music is for everybody, not just, people of senior citizens and people who have a lot of money, and we don't want to make it feel like it's a very exclusive thing just for high income earners, especially. We want it to be accessible for everybody. And that's to me the ticket for keeping classical music alive is to make it accessible to every person. And especially with things that we do, hopefully often, could be more often some of the time, of going into, public schools and, um, churches and prisons even, and places that are not necessarily okay what you would expect to hear an amazing 5 stars classical music performance, but to really bring it to people that need it and that otherwise wouldn't have had that opportunity to resonate with just some of the most beautiful music that we have. And if we can do that, if we can find ways to do that much more often, I think that will really pave the way for classical music in the future.
I think that from what I've seen with the Ballard Day Quartet and you, that I think that your management, the CAG, Concert Artists Guild, does
Yeah.
has been doing a really fine job um, at working those things out, and I'm really really impressed by that organization for that. And it must be wonderful to work for them.
Yeah, CAG has done, of course, so much for myself, and also seeing that the Ballard Days have gotten so much from touring and their education work and their outreach. It's really for both of us as artists having been on the roster, has just been an incredible platform, really, for us to grow and also for us to play and pass on this journey and this thing that we call classical music to so many other people.
Well, that's great. My next question was actually, what do you do to get back to your community? But I think that we just went through that. But if you'd like to, expound on that more, that's good. And if not, then we can call it a day.
Oh, sure. Well,
So why don't we
actually,
talk about that?
one thing that we're really excited about, or I'm super excited about in this place that I call home now, which is Winston-Salem, North Carolina, is we have a new fellowship, actually for combining, North Carolina School of the Arts at UNCSA and Winston-Salem Symphony. We've launched a partnership in creating a Master of Music fellowship for very interested graduate students. It would be right now, it would be within the strings, so looking for violins, viola, cello, bass. But that's an incredible way to engage within the community. You get an amazing Master of Music 2-year program with us. You get to play concerts with Winston-Salem Symphony, and you also do quite a bunch of outreach with an organization called Artist Corps in Winston-Salem, which it's a brand new initiative. It's going to be, starting in 2024. And I think this is something that this triad in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, and High Point could really, really use. And especially being, a very important city or a collection of cities within North Carolina besides Charlotte and Raleigh and Asheville and things like that. It's something that I'm really looking forward to. I'm, loving that, especially an organization like Sphinx, that I've been an alum of. I've also, done the competition and have gone to Sphinx Connects so many times and to be part of that family. And I'm so grateful to have, their support, and also for me as an artist, to be able to pass that along and to start something here and to be a part of, the pilot of an organization. Both of these organizations to start something like a program that would give back to the community is really, really, really important for me as an artist.
That's great. Well, it's been great talking to you, and just a few things here for business and things. Be sure to check out violazone.com. I just opened the site yesterday, actually, so
Woo!
a bunch of viola stuff there, and your spotlight will be up there shortly,
Great.
and all sorts of viola resources and products that I love and other people seem to love, but I only put products up there for viola players that I think really work and do the job. And also there's some fun things like some wiping off cloths and some stickers and things. So that's violazone.com. And as I said, there's a promotion. If you write live stream, you can get the shoulder rest at a discount, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm thanking everybody for joining us today on my YouTube channel at Ronald Houston on YouTube. I know a bunch of you probably have been there many times, but if you haven't, I'm welcoming you and hope you subscribe. And we do all sorts of things. We do this. We do different performances of my students and different classes and different techniques and reviews of products, all sorts of stuff. So it's been a dream of mine to do things like that, and I've been blessed that people actually watch the things. So that's amazing. Well, and Jordan, we are all so happy for you and proud of you that you're one of our fellow viola players. I think
Ooh, yes.
one of the really great things about the viola is that viola players really stick together, and we're kind of like a little cult, and we love viola things, and we love viola players and pieces and And so there's so many of us that are passionate about us, and you are just keeping that tradition going, and we're so excited about that. And for you to come and take the time to talk to us like this is just a blessing to everybody, and I'm sure everybody agrees with me there. It's exciting. So I'm going to thank you a million times for doing this, and hopefully you'll come back. And I've had a great time doing it, so I think we'll make this a regular thing. The next watch out on Facebook, or you can, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel at Ronald Houston, I'll put it on community posts when we're going to do the next thing. But I've already asked the Ballard Day Quartet to come and join us to do this. They are a quartet. There are two violins and a cello there, but there's also a wonderful violist there, Ben Zanoni, who's a good friend of yours.
Yes.
And so they'll be our next guest on this show or this channel. And but this is the first time we've done a live stream here, and for you to be on it is just like crazy awesome.
Wow.
So
It's an honor.
this is from me and everybody else.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's how we all feel about you, and good luck to everything, and we'll keep in touch. And every once in a while, if you'd come and join us, or maybe we can give a joint class together, some collab or something.
That would be fun.
Awesome. Okay. So to everybody listening today, we'll see you soon. And Jordan, we'll see you soon. We're going to sign off now.
Yes.
So I think it's been a successful first live stream. Let me just go through a few things. I have some people saying, thanks for the interview, very informative. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for the interview, love it. I think people are loving the interview, so
I think they love the interview. Well,
I am excited. And so I hope that your sushi tonight tastes great. And
yes.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Thank you, and we really appreciate it. And I'm just going to close off by saying the same thing I always do. Happy practicing.
Oh, happy practicing.
Yeah.
I have to join this one. Happy practicing.
Okay. See you soon, Jordan.
All right. See ya.